History, arguably the single most important cultural property. It is the great unifier of all societies, from classical to contemporary. It is happening all around us, every second, every minute, every hour of every day. A conspiracy of coincidence. It creates the contextual understanding of events that affects our lives. If we are vigilant enough, we can witness it happening. If we are keen enough, we can make it happen. By understanding it, we can alter the reality of the present or change the trajectory of the future. For without history, we are without purpose. We are without identity. Welcome to the gray area, where we examine history in hindsight. February 8th, 1693, a charter was granted for the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. It was the birthplace of Phi Beta Kappa, America's first fraternal secret society. 1861, the Confederate States of America was formed. 1861, a Cheyenne delegation and some Arapaho leaders accepted a new settlement. It was called the Treaty of Fort Wise with the U.S. federal government, and the deal ceded most of their land but secured a 600 square mile reservation and annuity payments to their tribe. 1900, in South Africa, British troops under General Buller were beaten at Ladysmith. The British fled over the Tugela River. 1904, the Russo-Japanese War began when Japan attacked Russian forces in Manchuria. 1910, William D. Boyce incorporated the Boy Scouts of America. 1922, the White House began using radio after then-President Harding had it installed. 1925, Marcus Garvey enters a federal prison in Atlanta while students staged a strike at Fisk University to protest policies of the white administration. 1952, Queen Elizabeth II ascended to the British throne after her father George VI had died just 2 days prior. 1963, the Kennedy administration prohibited travel to Cuba and made financial and commercial transactions with Cuba illegal for U.S. citizens. 1968, officers killed 3 students during a demonstration on the campus of South Carolina State in Orangeburg, South Carolina, while students were protesting segregation at an Orangeburg bowling alley. 1974, the 3-man crew of the Skylab space station returned to Earth after 84 days. 1980, U.S. President Jimmy Carter announced a plan to reintroduce draft registration. 1993, General Motors sued NBC, alleging that Dateline NBC had rigged 2 car-truck crashes to show that some GM pickups were prone to fires after certain types of crashes. The suit was settled the following day by NBC. However, rewinding all the way back to 1850, Philadelphia dentist John S. Rock would eventually become a medical doctor and attorney who in 1865 would become the first African-American lawyer to argue a case before the United States Supreme Court. In 1850, however, he was also an abolitionist and civil rights activist. In that year, a 25-year-old John S. Rock gave a speech in neighboring New Jersey where he called upon the state's white residents to treat the disenfranchised portion of the legal taxpayers of the state fairly by extending to them the right to vote. His oration went as such, quote, "Citizens, in addressing you in favor of the disenfranchised portion of the legal taxpayers of New Jersey, I feel from some success our enterprise has already been crowned with that intelligence, humanity, and justice may be styled characteristics of the citizens of this state. Knowing then that I am speaking to an intelligent and human people who believe that noble sentiment set forth in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created free and equal, etc., take the liberty of speaking freely to you. Being one of the disenfranchised, I do not believe your hearts are so callous as to not listen to the voice of the oppressed, lest we remember the American Revolution and the cries of liberty or death. And although the above declaration declares that all men are created free and equal, those noble words in their common acceptation do not and cannot apply to the disenfranchised people I am now speaking of, because indirectly you deny the disenfranchised are men. You say that all men are created free and equal, and at the same time you deny that equality, which is nothing more nor less than denying our very manhood. And if we are not free and equal according to the Declaration of Independence, then we are not men, because all men, according to the Declaration's own words, were created free and equal with inalienable rights granted by their creators. And we who belong to the disenfranchised will not be denied those freedoms, or this country will find itself a powder keg, and we will not yield to an appeal of a deferred freedom. We shall have it now." End quote. You see, courage is the ability to stand firmly against adversity even when it's unpopular. And the esteemed and revered John S. Rock, in the tradition of heritage of Ebon Noblesse, in the face of adversity, stood, fought with honor, pride, and courage, never yielding to opposition, and he did this as a young man. And as a result, history smiles upon him favorably. And instead of remaining silent with an unpopular stance against society's dictates, he chose to make history instead of letting history make him. February 8th, whether officially or unofficially, can be considered Rock Day in honor of Dr. John S. Rock. Not only did he learn from history, but when it came time to answer the call, he stood on the right side of it. You see, history, much like time, waits for no man. It is ultimately up to us to decide whether we choose to make it or be the reason we repeat it. However, no matter what side of it that you stand on, you can only learn from it by looking at history in hindsight.